Hello again. As we saw after the hostage taking in the American synagogue recently, MI5 and the British police are not all that good at identifying and arresting Islamist terrorists who pose a deadly threat to innocent people. This is in sharp contrast to their ability to lay their hands on white teenage boys who hang out on racist chat rooms and download copies of the Anarchist Cookbook onto their hard drives. These boys don't actually go on to harm anybody, it's just talk, but they possess racist views, and locking them up is felt to be a good thing in modern Britain. Of course, some of us might remark that fanatical Islamists who describe Jews as apes and pigs are also hideous racists, but you will seldom see teenage Muslims being targeted in this way that young white racists are. There are two reasons for this. The first is very simple. It is far easier to lay your hands on a teenage white racist than it would be to hunt down an Islamist planning a terrorist atrocity. I could probably find a few white racists in possession of copies of the Anarchist Cookbook myself. All I would need to do would be to join a fringe group dedicated, say, to deporting all black people from the country. I'd have no difficulty in posing as a British man because, of course, I am a British man. And I'm sure, too, that I could impersonate an angry young person who was a fan of Hitler. After a time on such a group, I would be invited to contact people on Telegram, which is where a lot of such people communicate. And then it would simply be a question of asking if anybody has a copy of the Anarchist Cookbook which I could download. Hey presto, job done. I would have far more trouble impersonating a dangerous Muslim extremist, and I'm sure it wouldn't be long before I gave myself away. I seriously doubt that I would be able to infiltrate an Islamist terrorist group. So there you are. This is one reason why you see headlines about 14-year-olds who have been arrested, charged, and convicted of terrorist offences. In the description to this video, I give a link to an item from the news about just such a case. We are told that a 13-year-old boy was tracked down because he had been active on racist online forums. He was charged last week with possessing information useful to a terrorist, namely manuals for making explosives, with the offences relating to a period on or before July 2021 when he was 13. The investigation was carried out by Counter-Terrorism Policing North East. I will bet anything you like that the sinister sounding manual for making explosives will turn out to be another copy of the Anarchist Cookbook on the hard drive of his laptop. This book was written in 1971 and used to be very popular with hippies and left-wingers. I had a copy, so did many of my friends. Incredibly, it is freely available on Amazon. I give a link to the Amazon listing in the description to this video. Is everybody who buys this book really committing an offence under the Terrorism Act? Are the police prosecuting Amazon for dealing in copies of the manual for making explosives? Of course not. Speaking personally, I've never known anybody use the Anarchist Cookbook for making explosives. It's just something a bit, edgy and, well, just something that young people like. They like to see things about how to make a silencer for a machine gun and how to make explosives, or how to rig up a booby trap so that you pull a wire across the road between two trees and decapitate a motorbike rider. There's all sorts of things like that. Nobody ever does those things. Viewers might recall that I mentioned another young man who had been convicted of owning a copy of the Anarchist Cookbook. This is Ben John of Lincolnshire. According to the BBC, he was convicted of having a copy of the Anarchist Cookbook on his hard drive. He was given a 2-year prison sentence, which was suspended for 2 years. The Court of Appeal has now changed this and he's to be sent to prison immediately for having a copy of the Anarchist Cookbook. That was the only thing he was convicted of. I think that it is really time to find out whether possession of this book really is a criminal offence, as the court seem to be claiming. The real reason, of course, and the second reason why it's happening is because MI5 and counter-terrorist police have been accused of being Islamophobic, and so they're trying to make their statistics look a little less racist by arresting a bunch of white youths as well, so that it doesn't look as if they're spending all their time on Muslims.